Hey, I'm Sith King.
And I'm Sonic Sons.
And we're the Rambling Reviewers.
And today we're looking at Star Trek Nemesis.
The 10th Star Trek film.
Also, possibly the worst Star Trek film. I've seen worse, so this is the Last Airbender, you know?
Yeah, or some of the other bad ones.
Some of the other bad ones.
But it's not good.
It's not well thought out. You know, it's got some ideas. The cloning blues, as we call it, concept of Picard having a clone and he's under, negative influence or whatever, could be used to good effect, theoretically.
Quite frankly, we've seen this sort of thing even in the show. There was Riker's twin, a clone, Thomas Riker.
Okay.
There have been instances where other cast members have been doubled.
Yeah.
And they kept insisting, yes, Picard, this is your darker half. I am everything you are. No, you're not.
I know. You know what would be good is if there was some other character flaw of Picard that was magnified in Shinzon. You could be like, oh, I see, this is like Picard, but worse. But it really felt like a completely different character who just coincidentally had the same DNA. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and furthermore, sure, if we wanted to explore Picard's deep, flaws...
Not that he has many, but go ahead.
First Contact was actually a better movie to explore this with. It showed his obsession and his hatred of the Borg.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It showed him willing to go to violent, almost obsessive extremes to try to take them out.
And we put it all together with a Moby Dick reference. Yep.
Yeah. But quite honestly, you could have used that, showing, no matter how evolved you claim you are, if things had been different, I could have been you, and this rage proves it. But Shinzon's motivation was dubious at best.
Very. You'd think the most pressing thing on this guy's mind, because we're told he needs a blood transfusion from Picard in order to live. Okay, why don't you just call him and say, hi, Federation, let me talk to Picard. I need to talk to him about a blood transfusion. And then you could just come over and you could discuss it and he could give you the freaking blood transfusion.
And people have said this multiple times. SF Debris commented on it. I think Plinkett commented on it, possibly.
Definitely.
But Shinzon acts like he's in no hurry for 90% of the movie.
Yeah.
And then the remaining 10%, he's like, oh my god, I need the blood sample from him right away.
But you could have gotten it earlier. You were having dinner with the man. Hello, Jean-Luc. I need your blood sample and this is why. And if he refuses you, okay. But first off, I don't know that he would. If you just need to donate blood in order to save a guy's life, he would do that.
Yeah, and here's what happened. The Enterprise comes into orbit above Romulus. Then it waits for 17 hours before Shinzon decides to make a big, important, flashy entrance and very slowly comes to meet all of them.
Yeah,
being ultra theatrical. And then he says, okay, we'll talk more tomorrow. So, okay. That's another 24 hours.
Yep.
And then after that, he waits another 2 days before going to do anything else. Oh, and he tries to psychically rape Deanna.
Oh my god, yeah.
Look, the instant you do that sort of shit, you lose all my sympathy. Up until that point, he was actually kind of sympathetic.
Yeah.
I could see him as just this kid who was thrown in over his head.
He was made a slave all his life.
Okay, that's sympathetic.
Yeah.
Then he tried to rape Deanna.
Yeah, what the frick?
And then this is never commented on again. And okay,
except that she uses a reverse thing.
Yeah, but it doesn't. We don't see how this affects Deanna. She seems a little shaken, but
yeah, we don't get into it. Really.
And then it's I was violated. I'd like to take time off, Captain. Permission denied. I hope you can survive a few more things of that, because we might have to deal with it as long as we're in orbit around Romulus. You know what? Fine. I was actually happy when he got beamed away an instant later.
Yeah,
Fuck you, Captain. That was the most unsympathetic douche canoery maneuver.
I don't know, what the idea... I guess the writers just wanted her to remain on deck for the rest of the thing, but, if you wanted to remain on deck, then it should be reversed. He should tell her to take a break, and she should say, no, I want to stay on so we can kill that bastard. Right? That would be okay. Instead it was no, frick you, rape victim, stay at your post.
Yeah, and then
I'm sorry, what?
And then later, Jean-Luc says, I can see the goodness in you. Yeah, no, the goodness you see is underneath the fact that he's a rapist. See, what you should do is
Hitler.
shoot him in the dick.
He's also Hitler.
Shoot him in the dick with a phaser.
Because he wants
repeatedly
to blow up Earth. Yeah.
Why
does he want to kill Earth? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it said, oh, yeah, he's the new praetor of the Romulan Empire. First off, why is he the new praetor of the Romulan Empire?
Why is he a leader even among the Remans? Like, he's just some kid that got thrown in jail. Like, there's no reason anyone would care, really.
And even in Star Trek, that's stupid, because Romulans are supposed to be 3 times stronger than a human. So why would they have this weakling be their leader?
Yeah.
And his tactical decisions are at best questionable. Like when he said, "Okay, bring down our own cloaking field so that my enemy will come flying at me, shooting me and damaging me heavily.
And then we'll shoot them when they get really close." Okay.
You should not be flying so close that your enemy can fire randomly into space and hit you by random coincidence.
Right, though that is separate from the part where he intended to get hit, which is worse, actually.
Yeah.
And I don't know why the enemy even approached him while shooting him. They act sort of like they're airplanes, and they can't stop.
Yeah.
Which is weird. I mean, I'm willing to accept space friction for its own purposes, I guess, like you naturally. But this is like, as soon as you feel like it, no wait, no more space friction. Everyone's moving around all the time. And for some reason, we also can't just fly circles around his ship and shoot it. No, we have to get really close to it, and then they shoot us. It wasn't even like they thought his weapon systems were disabled. They're just like, oh, his cloak is down. Let's get really close. You shoot him from a distance, guys. It's not that hard. Also, when he's under cloak, and we're obviously jumping to the end here, the big space battle that seemed to take up like a third of the movie.
And it was way less impressive than the space battles we see even over on Deep Space Nine, where they had hundreds of ships going at it.
Yeah, that's something. Or I would say that there's so much tension in like Wrath of Khan, for instance, when there's far less shots being fired, but every one of them changes the tactical situation.
And they aren't even looking for another ship. It's 2 ships facing each other, both Federation, and both of roughly equal capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just super tense and amazing.
Mind games of these guys trying to predict each other, and this is a lot of shooting. I love this. They're flying around so close to each other, and we're being shot by the cloaked ship, and oh crap, where are they? We're shooting in every direction. Why don't you just shoot in the reverse path that you got shot from? Like, that should give you a pretty good... Oh, we got shot on the left side. Let's fire all the left side phasers, like...
And
you can work that out pretty fast.
You mentioned during this, why don't you track back to where the ship was? Track the shots back to where they
Right, that's what I meant, yeah.
Oh.
Track the shots back to where they went, yeah.
And the Remans. Okay, they tried to beef them up by saying, oh, they were the shock troopers for the Romulans in the Dominion War.
Yeah.
Against the Jem'Hadar.
Yeah.
The Jem'Hadar...
We're badass.
Yes. No, the only way is if they were facing the Jem'Hadar Z-listers. The ones who got, like, the crap end of the DNA in the cloning tanks.
Yeah. The ones who flunked out of basic.
Yeah, these are the ones who kept shooting. The only way they would have won is if the Jem'Hadar kept shooting themselves.
Yeah.
And saying, we're taking severe casualties, my founders. Oh, yes, I wonder why.
Yeah, basically, I mean, a 6-year-old Frenchman can take on an entire ship full of Remans. Wow. No offense against French people, actually. I'm just talking about 60-year-old. Come on.
Yeah, it's a 60...
He's dual-wielding.
He's dual-wielding, so his accuracy should be going down. Why are you dual-wielding rifles? Shouldn't the weight of their barrel be pulling your arms down anyway, making you tired?
Yeah. It was just silly. And I could still kind of enjoy it in a silly way. Like, just turn off your brain and, like, look, it's action. But, yeah, on a higher level.
But it's Star Trek. You're not supposed to turn your brain off.
Yeah, no, I mean,
And then earlier, the dune buggy scene.
The Plinkett was pointing out how this Argo thing makes no sense. It's like, okay, we need to go down to this planet, but we can't transport because an ion storm could come up with little warning. You only need like 5 seconds warning, so unless that's a really chaotic storm, I think we're cool. But okay, let's use a shuttlecraft. Why don't we fly around to each of the 6 points we need and just pick stuff up? If you're on the dune buggy and somebody attacks you, you can't fly away.
And the dune buggy's design, it's like driving a go-kart.
Yeah, it has no windshield. It has no walls above the waist level.
Oh yeah, and let's not forget, they're driving around on a pre-warp planet, violating the Prime Directive. Remember the episode where Picard was worshipped as a god by the primitive Vulcanoid species?
Yep.
Where they tried everything possible, including erasing a guy's memory to try to preserve the Prime Directive?
Yep.
Well, apparently, fuck that.
I mean, I could kind of get it if they expect this area to be, like, totally depopulated, but then the Enterprise should totally be looking at their scanners and get on the radio and say, hey, wait, there's some guys coming your way in dune buggies.
If we can, with modern technology, take a picture of my house, accurate enough to see which side of the driveway my car is parked on,
Yeah.
then 24th century technology should be able to pinpoint where some primitive whack jobs are and say, hey, Enterprise, look out, here come some dune buggies.
I also love that they jump off a cliff to, like, get in the shuttle. The shuttle is positioned, like, 40 feet off the side of the cliff just so they can have a dramatic jumping scene. Like, you could just put it right next to the cliff and just sort of drive in it normally. No? Anybody? Okay.
And if they can remote control shuttles like Data was seen doing, why didn't they use that later against Shinzon?
Yeah, why didn't they use shuttles at all against Shinzon?
When just remote control shuttles, have them go to warp 1 and slam into his ship when it's immobile at the speed of light.
Yeah, though I don't know if you can hit things at the speed of light with the way warp works. I guess you go to a subspace and something like that.
Okay, still, as you
But
accelerate
you could slam it at impulse power. Yeah.
Yeah, slamming it like fractional c velocity at impulse power.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess that's a question for practically every battle we ever had. But yeah.
Okay, but this battle specifically is especially egregious because
they're right there.
they're right there.
Yeah.
And they're immobile, so they have literally no other weapons. What about the shuttles? No one brings up the shuttles.
Yeah, and the shuttles have their own teleport systems, too.
Yeah.
You just get on a shuttle. Don't even take it out of the dock. Just get on a shuttle, use the teleporter. There we go.
Yeah, and you could have saved Data that way, too.
Yeah. No, too bad. And Picard goes over to the other ship because this is something I have to do.
No, it's not.
That doesn't make any sense.
We
Picard.
both said no, it's not
No,
at the
it's not.
same time. It was hilarious.
Yeah, there's nobody else more qualified to point a gun, apparently.
Yeah, you couldn't have sent over Worf or like a squad of Marines. Hey, and Data jumping over. What? Remember in Star Trek V when Spock had the jet boots?
Yeah, we don't have any of those, apparently.
Why not? That seems like something that you would want when going into space.
I mean, I do like the idea of the android jumping across space to get to the enemy thing, because it's like, oh, wait, yeah, he doesn't need oxygen. Very clever. It just, the rest of the battle didn't add up to make that make any sense. When they were boarded, all the main characters have to go fight the Remans who still can't shoot worth anything.
And there are so many ways you could have taken out the Remans. They have large ears, probably indicates sensitive hearing.
Maybe.
Turn up the gain on turn up the volume on all the speakers and just pump rock music into there.
That would be odd but interesting. But they told us that was the sensitivity to light.
Which they didn't use by like
turn up the lights.
Or turning it into a strobe so they can't adjust.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Nobody had any armor or helmets or...
But that's a common thing in every Trek battle.
I don't know. You think you could maybe close some doors? We could use door technology.
Heck, you know what? Just seal off the area with force fields and vent it to space.
That'd be pretty cool.
Or pump poison gas in there.
Or teleport them away. We still have teleporters, right? Though I guess they burn out later.
Yeah, so because plot says so.
So what's Shinzon up to? Let's go over this again. So he's a slave, and he becomes the leader of some Remans for some reason, and then he's visited by his fairy godmother, I presume, that turns some scrap he found in the mines into a freaking super destroyer thingamajig.
Yeah, apparently some slaves led by Shinzon constructed this ship that has Thalaron radiation cannons and more guns than half the fleet. Hell, this thing has so many weapons. I've seen ships in Warhammer 40k that did not have as many guns as this thing did.
It's got a whole bunch of regular guns. It's got a kill everyone on a planet at the same time gun. And it's got a perfect cloak. And it's bigger than the Enterprise E.
Which is already a pretty damn huge ship.
Yeah, what the frick?
So, so apparently he's able to build this, and no one notices him building it or steals it.
At a secret base, he says. Where Where did you get a secret base? Where did you
You're
get anything?
slaves.
Yeah, but was there an uprising? Was there an uprising and Romulans didn't notice? Did you guys just like take an hour off of slave duty every day to go to the bathroom for like a really long time, and you actually went off to the secret base and kept that up for 10 years? Like, what? How did this happen?
Yeah, the Romulans are known for the Tal Shiar. They're the most effective intelligence agency in the entire Alpha and Beta quadrants that we know of.
Yeah.
Except possibly Section 31.
Yeah.
But they don't count for this argument.
Yeah.
So, let's see. I'm sort of doubting Shinzon's ability to hide the fact that you're building a ship bigger than, like, 8 or 9 warbirds put together.
Yeah.
And the Tal Shiar just doesn't notice.
Yeah. No.
Like, at all.
Not at all. And then he goes to Romulus in force with his ship.
His one ship.
His ship that can kill a whole planet. It's basically a Death Star if you think about it. Except it only kills the people, but yeah, it's more efficient, I guess. But he apparently gets the alliance of the Romulan military because they like him now. Why do they like him?
Why do they like him?
I mean, he's a freaking human and a Reman from different perspectives, so
both creatures that we really kind of hate.
Yeah.
All love.
I mean, there's something about, if we make you Praetor, then we'll finally have a war against the Federation, which is what we want. Like, okay, why don't you guys just make yourselves Praetor?
Or someone who is a Romulan, and then promise some token things to the Remans, like we'll start giving you more equal rights and get them behind it.
I would say that maybe they needed his Tharalon radiation to go kill Tharalon. What is it?
I have no idea.
His super radiation to kill the Senate or whatever, but it looks to me like you could do that with, I don't know, orbitable bombardment.
Or hell, just a gun.
Just like, Senator, please excuse me, I have a meeting with the ambassador. Sure. And then just get like a freaking tricorder out, like beep, beep, beep. Boom! There goes the Senate. Never mind.
Heck, there were no guards, even when the thing was doing the green glowy light shit. And it's like, guards.
Well, he says at
guards?
the end, somebody go alert security. But yeah.
Yeah, and like,
it was just.
Shouldn't there have been security in that room at that time?
Do you think people would like run away if something gets all spooky and glowy in the middle of this important thingamajig?
Yeah, so I'm thinking you could just pull out like a phaser Uzi and just.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Senate's dead.
I don't know why some of these military guys care about him at all. And then what's he want to? Does he want to get his blood? Well, no, not until he freaking feels like it later on for no reason. Does he want to be Praetor? Well, apparently that's not enough for him. He tells Picard after he's captured him, "My life means nothing as long as you're alive."
Really? Because you seem to be in charge of one of the largest political entities in the Alpha and Beta quadrants.
Right. Also, I don't see how having a twin makes your life worthless. You imagine 2 twins getting mad at each other that way. Only one of us can live. It's not the Highlander, man. Like, deal with it.
And Jean-Luc was like, if you're a human, that means you have the ability to improve yourself. Really? Because he was a slave, and then he became Praetor of the Romulan Star Empire.
Right. I guess he meant that in a moral scale, but yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think you can improve much more than that.
And then, so what is it? He wants to go kill everyone on Earth.
Why?
Why doesn't he go kill everyone on Romulus?
Yeah, he hates Romulans.
And wouldn't that be kind of cool? In fact, because we ended this with like there's new bond of friendship between the Federation and the Romulans because we helped each other out with this thing.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it have been great then if his plan was to go kill everyone on Romulus and then Picard saves them and we all, get accolades by the Romulans for saving them? That makes sense.
Yeah.
And then, what?
And then we figure out one of the big plot holes of the movie. How the fuck did Shinzon get his hands on B4, the Soong-type android?
Yeah, was it just lying around in the mines in Remus?
Yeah,
was it at the secret base?
We saw back in season 1 of Star Trek, The Next Generation, that Data was found on a planet with no memory of how he got there, just that he was created by Noonien Soong.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe he didn't. I can't remember 100% accurately about that.
Okay.
But anyways, they went back there and they found a top secret base where Noonien Soong developed all of his androids. including Lore. So Data and Lore were both there. Now, I do not think Noonien Sung was in the practice of, spreading around his ultra super duper giga manga ganga weapons. I mean, not weapons, androids. So that means that Shinzon had to have either stolen B4, a clearly inferior prototype to the other ones. He found this thing somewhere, in which case, where the fuck did he find it, and why did Noonien Sung just leave it around?
Yeah.
He managed to reprogram the damn thing, something which, Starfleet would give their eye teeth to be able to do.
Yeah, he's basically magic when it comes to technology.
Then he decided, you know what's a good idea? I'm going to chop him up into little bits and scatter him around a planet so that on the off chance that somehow positronic brains emit radiation that can be detected from light years away.
Yep.
Does no one see a problem with this? Does no one see a problem with the fact that data can apparently be detected from Alpha Centauri?
Man, I don't know what's going on.
Worse, they can pinpoint exactly where on the planet they are from several light years away. So we could if I was in Alpha Centauri, I could pinpoint which house Data was in if he was in Chicago.
Something like that, yeah. And then it's all, I guess, okay, so the idea is that B4 will betray Picard from sabotage the ship or something. Or no, he got all the communications records was the deal.
Yeah, which in and of itself is just really disgusting because B4 is portrayed as kind of like a mentally handicapped child.
Yeah.
So you're turning a mentally handicapped child into a weapon.
Yeah.
That's okay. Okay, so he's a rapist and he's a monster. In addition to raping,
now,
which is already monstrous.
It is possible to do just a flat out super cruel evil villain, but they were playing it like we were going to be sympathetic to this guy.
Yeah, after the rape and human weapon thing.
And the director made some comments in an interview about, or maybe it was the writer, he said, we don't want a simple villain, we want someone with nuance. Like, there's no nuance actually here. Like, they play at it for half an hour and then never mind, he's evil.
It isn't even subtle evil. It's just disgusting and cruel.
Yeah,
for the sake of being disgusting and cruel.
I would have loved to see it played actual sympathetic, and then at the end he probably he's being manipulated for evil purposes more so than being in charge, and by the end he actually has a heel face turn and becomes a nice guy. Maybe dies, and says something to Picard right at the end about our family would be proud or something like that.
And he's going on and on about the proud Picard family blood. Really, because I seem to remember that the Picard family were farmers.
Yeah.
And he was like, tell me, Picard, of the glorious Picard bloodline. I was the first one to ever leave the solar system, and no one liked that at all. Oh, but you were explorers, right? No, we weren't. You were warriors? No.
We explored grapes.
You made wine. Possibly one of the least manly professions. I mean, not saying winemaking is a bad thing. It's just not one of those things that you brag about down at the Salty Sea Bar. I make wine for a living. Pinot Grigio and champagne.
That'd be interesting.
Oh, well, I thought I was a badass. I just wrestled sharks for a living, but this guy makes wine!
It's going to be a t-shirt. Alright, so if we imagine how we would fix this, we'd pretty much chuck the whole plot. But the elements here, imagine...
Dragons.
Waking
up, tapping.
And, before we transition to that, the plot that causes Shinzon to exist in the first place also makes no sense.
Yes. It says, we wanted an informant into the highest level, a Romulan spy in the highest levels of Starfleet Command. So they took DNA samples from you in order to...
make a clone.
Make a clone that would... And then replace you. This is stupid for many, many reasons.
Yep.
So we kind of worked it out, assuming fast growing and stuff.
Yeah, so they could speed it up, slow him down. They did mention that at one point. That's why he's dying.
Okay. This would have to have been taken about this time that season 1 of Star Trek:
Right.
The Next Generation
Because you
starts.
wouldn't do it before Picard was noteworthy. Like, well, just by coincidence, they got that one guy's DNA. Like, they would have to know at that moment.
Or they're like
this is an important guy.
Or are there other human clones? Ooh, that could be a good
That'd
plot
be
line.
interesting,
Like seeing like other versions of other captains we've seen. Maybe like a younger Cisco or something.
Ooh, interesting. But anyway, so we presume they only made this one clone.
Okay, so and then they chucked him in the mines because they wanted him to die.
Because they changed their mind of the whole plan and they couldn't just be bothered to shoot him, I guess.
Even though, that would have been mind-numbingly simple.
That would be mind-numbingly simple. I mean, I guess, I don't know. I'm saying to myself, well, in the mines he can do useful labor. But then I'm thinking, no, he's a child. Just shoot him.
He's a child and a human who is notably much weaker than, any of the other political prisoners.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that evil is good, but I'm saying if they're evil, then this would be the option you would take, is just shoot him.
Okay, and then what else?
And then, but assuming they had gone through with the plan and aged him to the correct age and made him look exactly like Jean-Luc Picard, first off, you had to get access to Jean-Luc and abduct him and replace him, and then the replacement doesn't have his memories! How the frick is he going to function?
And granted, the existence of Romulan psychics is a bit hazy, even in continuity.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some accounts that say they don't have them. There's some accounts that say they have them. There's some accounts that say they have the potential for it, but they haven't kept up the mental discipline, so their potential has shriveled.
Yeah.
So you could have possibly done it like that, maybe. Mm-hmm. But still, here's the other problem with that. Jean-Luc Picard's bridge crew involves a telepathic half-Beta Z who sits 3 feet from his head. I don't care if he can remember all the passcodes. You're not getting past the fact that there's a half-Beta Z 3 feet from you whose sole purpose in the show was to say, this feels wrong because I sense it with my psychic goddamn powers.
Yeah.
Oh, and I just thought of something else. There's another little character who might be able to tell the difference between Jean-Luc and an imposter.
Yeah.
You might know him as one of the first godlike entities that we met in The Next Generation.
Frick, yeah.
Q!
Q would spot it instantly, wouldn't he?
Q would be
He
like,
would show
oh,
up.
this isn't Jean-Luc.
Snap his
Snap.
finger.
Oh, here, he's back. And then Jean-Luc would be like, what the fuck? Why did you guys not save me? How did you not realize this?
Yeah.
Troy, you're fired. I'm getting a new Beta Z. Thank you, Q.
That would be fun. Yeah. I mean, though Troy would happen first because she's there all the time. But yeah, that was weird. And then when Shinzon has Jean-Luc captured.
Oh, and another thing.
Oh, yeah,
another individual who made frequent appearances aboard the Enterprise D was Troy's mom, a full-blooded Beta Z with much more impressive psychic powers.
Yeah.
Who was briefly infatuated with Jean-Luc Picard.
Right.
So, yeah, she'd notice.
I'd like to think even Guinan would notice. With her...
She's a listener.
She's a listener.
She would know.
She would know.
Heck, she was in love with Picard for a bit, too.
Oh.
I think.
I have not seen all the show.
Actually, yeah, I have not seen all the show.
I gotta see the rest of the show. Here I am jumping around.
Plus, there's other psychic races on board. They would recognize that he's not thinking in English. He's thinking in Riemann or Romulan or whatever.
Though I guess everyone seems to speak English except the Klingons.
Yeah, I put that up to the Universal Translator.
Yeah. And then when Shinzon has Picard captured, he goes like, my life is nothing as long as you're alive, and then walks out of the room without killing him, which I thought was odd. And then there was this thing about needing his blood, but they take a sample of his blood, and then they still need it later, and you're like, but they took his blood, why do they need more? And if they needed more, why didn't they take more? He was right there. Just hook him up to an IV and take more blood.
Take it and use a replicator and make more blood that way. I don't know if it works like that, but try.
If they needed more blood and it was interrupted, it should be he was on an IV and then Data, pretending to be before, takes him off of it and then unstraps him and like, oh, Captain, we only got half the blood we needed. Oh, crap. Oh, Praetor, whatever they call him.
They have cloning technology. Shouldn't he have been able to do that? Make more blood?
Make more blood. I don't know if it needs the blood or just whatever's going on. Yeah, that. Okay, so as to how it would have worked better.
Anything.
Anything. Let's say there's a clone. I mean, I still have to figure out why there would be a clone at all. Maybe it was just somebody messing around on Romulus for the fun of it. let's say there was a clone, and he was subjected to terrible conditions as a Reman, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let's make him more like Picard. Say he stages an uprising, but it's very sort of idealistic. He could be kind of violent, but it would be like, we're doing this for our rights. These are our fundamental rights as sentient beings, and he would make speeches, and he would hold rallies, and maybe some violence in there, whatever.
Picard's one of his greatest strengths is that he always knows the Federation will do the right thing. He always calls upon, I am the voice of the Federation.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll just give that to Shinzon. He's not the voice of the Federation. He's the voice of the Reman people.
Right. He would do that, and the thing is, he takes it too far. He comes to the notion of our rights and everything, and it probably causes there's riots and chaos, and that's how Picard gets involved at all. Is he's sent to investigate? Maybe, I don't know. And Shinzon meets up with him and says, "You've got to help my revolution. We're going to overthrow the people." And Picard feels sympathetic. Maybe we should. Is this okay legally? I'm sure that would be a question. They discuss it a bit, and then it turns out, oh wait, he's not just trying to, overthrow the evil anti-Reman laws and establish equality. He's actually trying to commit genocide against the Romulans. And he would justify this by saying, they've mistreated us for so long, they deserve this punishment. And Picard would say to him, no, you can't do that.
And then Shinzon ends the speech. They have treated us with cruelty. Every day, like, he gives this long, rambling speech about how cruel the Romulans are.
Yeah.
And then he ends it with, and I will make them pay for what they've done. Mm-hmm. Kind of like what Picard was saying about the Borg.
The Borg. He would totally relate that. He would tell him about being imprisoned by the Borg. Now, the Borg were so terrible. And then, depending on how much continuity you want to bring up, you'd bring up Hugh. When he had the chance to kill an individual Borg drone and didn't do it because the guy turned out to be a nice guy, right?
Ooh.
That would be a thing. Freaking actual Hugh could show up for all I know. I guess where are the Borg at this point in continuity? They're all dead. Are they just hiding somewhere?
Actually, that's kind of unknown at the moment. The end of Voyager involved an alternate reality Admiral Janeway from the future going back in time.
Okay.
And wow, I don't think I could have made that statement at all cool if I had been having sex with a supermodel atop a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
I'll let you know if that happens.
No, I think I would know if I was having sex with a supermodel in the back of a Tyrannosaurus
audience,
Rex.
But okay.
But yeah, so an alternate reality Janeway from the future goes back in time to see Voyager, and direct them into a subspace pipeline that leads directly to Earth that the Borg were controlling but didn't use for some reason.
Oh.
And then alternate reality Janeway from the future gets assimilated by the Borg, and she has like some sort of virus that infects the collective.
But okay, that is still vague though. What ultimately happens, because that can be
which is why I was saying it's still vague. This Star Trek Nemesis is technically the last thing in the Alpha universe.
Yeah.
In the Prime
universe. Which is what I call it, because there's the new one they came up with.
The 2009 universe.
Which wasn't even... It's not a universe, I know. They changed the timeline. I'm just going to call it a separate universe for, sake of sanity.
Yeah. That episode of Voyager was technically the last episode of a TV series chronologically in the Alpha universe.
Right.
And this is the last entry in the Alpha universe. Well, technically.
Canon, yeah.
I mean,
not
there was
time travel and
not counting time travel or the 2009 bits where it was in the future with Spock.
Anyway, the point would be that it's essentially the two of them are wrestling between Picard's desire for true vengeance and Picard's more pure idealistic nature, and in the end he would redeem Shinzon, and Shinzon would thwart the plans of whoever it is he's working with that's invented this weapon or whatever, and we'd save Romulus, and Shinzon would probably die, and maybe we get buried as a Romulan. Wouldn't that be cool? Like, he'd be buried with honors, or as a Reman or whatever, as a both, and that would lead to peace between the Remans and the Romulans It would be
or
like,
at least it'd be a good first
oh, good.
step.
Sorry, because there'd be like a reasonable leader somewhere among the Romulans who's actually understands the Remans are being mistreated, and that guy would be left
Spock.
standing. Spock would be there. Yeah.
Yeah, because in canon, he's supposed to be on Romulus right now trying to bring about unity and unification between the Vulcans and the Romulans.
Right.
And in the book Star Trek Titan, well, the first one of that series, which at the end of the movie they talked about how the Titan was going to be going to the neutral zone.
Right.
The book chronicles that first mission. They go to Romulus in order to rescue Ambassador Spock, who was captured by the Tal Shiar in the wake of the events of Nemesis.
Okay.
And Spock says that now his new mission is to try to create unity between Vulcans, Romulans, and the Remans.
Right. Now, I understand at the time Leonard Nimoy didn't want to film any of these things, but just hypothetically, if he did want to film, that'd be so great for him to show up, like, halfway through or even at the end or whatever, and, he's bringing them together and thanking Picard and thanking Shinzon's grave or whatever, and that would just be, such a cool thing for the fans. So, frickin' Spock is there again! Yeah. That would have been a cool movie that we just put together there.
Instead, we got this crap.
Yep. Yeah, whatever. I've seen worse, but yeah, it needed to be thought through better. I guess that's about it.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, I'm Sith King.
And I'm Sonoxons.
We're signing off.